Revenge films.
My name is Lauren. I'm an ordinary housewife living with my husband Josh. Our marriage is good, and we live peacefully without any particular problems, except for one that started recently. It's my sister-in-law, Jessica, and her annoying behavior. Jessica is actually my childhood friend. Our families lived close to each other, so we often spent time together as kids. That's why I was shocked when I heard that she was marrying my older brother. Honestly, my first thought was that I didn't want her to become part of my family. Even though we grew up together, I never liked her much. She was always jealous and competitive, constantly trying to put me down. Since we were little, she would say things like, "Lauren, you're so plain and boring," clearly looked down on me. That attitude never changed, even after we became adults. When I told her I was getting married, she was furious and jealous. Then the following year, my brother suddenly said,
"Actually, I'm dating Jessica."
Before I knew it, they were engaged. When she announced their marriage, Jessica smirked and said, "Sorry for stealing your beloved brother." It's true that I was close with my brother, but I had no reason to be jealous. I was genuinely happy for him. Maybe because I didn't react the way she wanted, Jessica started trying to compete with me again, this time about having children. After my marriage, I didn't get pregnant for a while, but my husband told me,
"Let's not rush. We'll wait for it to happen naturally."
So we decided not to do fertility treatments at first. Meanwhile, Jessica got pregnant right after her wedding and gave birth to a baby boy the following year. They named him Dan, and everyone adored him. I truly loved my nephew too, and started to think that someday I'd like to have a child of my own. Eventually, my husband and I decided to start fertility treatment. We didn't tell anyone, so of course Jessica didn't know, but she assumed I was infertile and started taking advantage of me. As Dan grew older, she said things like, "You don't have kids, so you must have plenty of free time." Then she began leaving him with me. It gradually got worse by the time Dan turned 4. She was dropping him off at my house every week and going out all dressed up. It was getting too hard to take care of him overnight every week, so I asked her to reduce the frequency, but she snapped. "Dan's your brother's son. Don't you love him? He's your nephew. Just take care of him and stop complaining." She tried every way she could to keep dumping him on me. Feeling completely overwhelmed, I told my husband everything. He said gently,
"From now on, if she asks you again, just say no, firmly."
The next week, Jessica called and asked me to take care of Dan again. Following my husband's advice, I said, "Sorry, I have plans. I can't." Then I hung up. But she didn't stop. She called again and again, her name flashing on my phone for nearly an hour until it finally went quiet. Relieved, I decided to go out for groceries. But when I opened the door, I heard a child crying outside. Then the doorbell rang. I quickly opened the door, and there stood our elderly next-door neighbor holding little Dan in his arms. He yelled at me.
"How could you leave such a small child outside like this? What were you thinking?"
I tried to explain the situation, but he just handed me Dan and walked off angrily. It turned out Jessica, angry that I'd refused, had abandoned her 4-year-old son in front of my door before going out. Furious, I immediately called her, but she didn't answer. Even by nightfall, there was still no reply. My husband and I decided to contact my brother. He was at work, but he came right away to pick up Dan, apologizing over and over.
"I'll make sure Jessica never does this again,"
he promised before leaving. The next day, Jessica suddenly barged into my house, shouting, "Are you trying to destroy my marriage? My husband is suffering because of you." I glared at her. "You left your child alone outside and disappeared. That's insane. Don't ever do that again." But she scoffed. "I only let you take care of Dan because I feel sorry for you. You can't have kids. You should be grateful." She showed no sign of remorse. I told her firmly, "Leave now. If you show up uninvited again, I'll call my brother." Then I forced her out and called my brother immediately. Whatever he said to her must have been harsh because I never heard from Jessica again. A week later, I wasn't feeling well, so I went to the hospital and found out I was pregnant. When I told my husband, he burst into tears of joy. After that, our days were filled with peace and happiness. A few months later, right after I passed my due date, my husband got a sudden transfer for work. We hurried to pack and move. Not long after settling in, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. We were exhausted, but happy, learning the ropes of parenting together. Then one day my phone rang from an unknown number. When I answered, it was our former neighbor, the same elderly man. Sounding upset, he said,
"That boy, he's in front of your old house again."
I immediately knew it had to be my nephew. I hadn't been in contact with Jessica, so she didn't know we had moved. After giving birth, life had been hectic, and I hadn't even updated my brother yet. But now, I couldn't go there even if I wanted to. We had moved overseas. I quickly explained the situation to the old man and said, "Please call the police," before hanging up. Moments later, my phone rang again. It was Jessica. "How could you call the police on me?" she screamed furiously. Staying calm, I said, "I've been living abroad since last month. We don't even have a house in Japan anymore." Jessica shouted, "What? Are you serious? Why didn't you tell me something that important? I just wanted to give you, an infertile woman, a little experience in raising a child. How could you turn this into a police matter?" I replied coolly, "Oh, I forgot to mention that I just gave birth recently. Anyway, I'm busy, so I have to go." Then I hung up. Later, I learned that Jessica had been taken in by the police for questioning. When my brother arrived after being contacted by the police, Jessica was apparently yelling, "It's your sister's fault!" That was the last straw for my brother. He decided to divorce her. Because she had abandoned her child, custody was easily granted to him. He moved out of the apartment he'd shared with Jessica and back into our parents' house, where he now works hard as a single father, raising Dan with their support. Jessica's parents were horrified when they found out she had abandoned her son, and they cut all ties with her. Homeless and desperate, she tried apologizing to my brother again and again, but he refused to forgive her. After the divorce, my brother also discovered that Jessica had been cheating on him. Furious, he demanded compensation. Struggling for money, she reportedly started dating older men for cash, but it didn't go well, and she ended up in debt just to pay the settlement. Now, living alone and miserable, she sometimes contacts my brother, saying, "I want to see my son," but he refuses, and rightfully so. After all, she abandoned her little boy outside like he didn't matter. As for me, I've finally gotten used to life overseas. These days, I often video call my family back home and keep in close touch with them. Whenever my nephew sees my baby on the screen, he says excitedly,
"I can't wait to hold her!"
He's acting like a proud big brother. A lot has happened, but none of it is his fault. In the end, I think it was for the best that my brother divorced Jessica before my nephew had to suffer any more. Now I'm just counting the days until I can return to Japan. Not through a screen this time, but in person, so I can introduce my daughter to everyone face to face.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.